Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out today. I am Sister Eilis McCulloh and serve at Network as the Grassroots Education and Organizing Specialist. We are thrilled to be back in Erie to host our Care Not Cuts rally. As we all know, right now Congress and the President are discussing raising the debt ceiling. This is on the news every single day. And we must raise the debt ceiling in order to avoid defaulting on our economy. We know that the House of Representatives wants to make major cuts to many programs that our communities rely on. These programs help housing, healthcare, and food assistance. So we are here today to say care not cuts. Can everyone say that with me? Care not cuts. One more time. Care not cuts. So we know that here in Erie and in surrounding counties, the situation is dire. In 2021, the counties served by Second Harvest Food Bank, which were Erie, Crawford, Warren, McKean, Venango, Forest, Elk, Cameron, Clarion, Jefferson, and Clearfield, had a 10% food insecurity rate in 2021. But on the ground, partner agencies have been reporting an increased need. In 2021, that meant that there was a meal shortage of 14 million meals across these 11 counties. And the rates are worse when we talk about children. An average of 15% of our children in this area experience food insecurity. At the St. Elizabeth Center in Venango County, the director says that they've been receiving 30 new families each and every month who are in need of food. And Second Harvest also reports similar numbers. Second Harvest and other partner agencies rely on multiple programs to be able to distribute food and to provide USDA commodity foods. But we know that SNAP is the most effective anti-hunger tool. Without SNAP, food banks are not able to help meet the need for food help. And that is why we are here today. We are calling to raise up these issues and to lift up the work that agencies across Erie do each and every day. And so as we begin, we are going to open with a short prayer. Compassionate God, our hearts are broken when we see longer lines at community food pantries and listen to our neighbors wonder if they will be able to afford their medical care or keep a roof over their heads. We are frustrated when Congress uses programs that support basic human needs as pawns in their political game. God of justice, may our vision for the common good of all spread throughout the halls of Congress. And may we work to create thriving communities where all people have enough food to eat, a safe and stable home, and affordable health care. Amen. Amen. So as I said, we know that some leaders in Congress like to play games with our lives, but it's important that we stand firm in the truth of our lives, the truth of our community, and the truth of the impact that the proposed budget would have on us. And so we are here as people working hard to build a better world, to build a thriving community where all have the opportunity to thrive, no matter the color of your skin or the zip code where you live. And we know that when we come together, we have amazing power. So again, we're going to say care not cuts.
Care not cuts.
And so in terms of practicalities, what does food insecurity look like? It might look like spending a third of your monthly income on prescription drugs. It might look like walking 1.5 miles to the grocery store and then only being able to buy what you can carry. Or it might look like paying up to $13 for a round trip service to take you to the grocery store because you can no longer drive yourself. Food insecurity also affects people who have never learned to cook for themselves and now find themselves living alone. And so we have enough people struggling to get by, but we cannot let a small group of people take away food assistance from over 2 million people. That means that we would be taking away SNAP benefits from 900,000 people to 1 million people and taking WIC benefits away from almost 1.2 million women, infants, and children. And so today we are gathered to hear about the impacts specifically here in Erie County. And we are joined by Besty Wiest from St. Patrick's Haven, Jennie Hagerty from Mercy Center for Women, Susannah Faulkner from SSJ Neighborhood Network, Sister Dorothy Stoner from the St. Benedict Education Center, and Mayor Joe Schember. So up first, we will hear from Besty Wiest, who is the former executive director for St. Patrick's Haven. It is a temporary shelter for men and has been serving the Erie community since 1984. St. Patrick's Haven is sponsored by the Sisters of St. Joseph, and most of the men that St. Patrick's serve experience chronic homelessness. We welcome Besty Wiest to tell us more about their work, the men they serve, and the needs of the community.
Thank you and good afternoon. Each day as we walk around our city, we share the streets with those experiencing homelessness. Many people in Erie have stepped up to help those in need, but there is more work to be done. For the past several years, I was the executive director of St. Patrick's Haven, a sponsored ministry of the Sisters of St. Joseph, and we provide emergency overnight shelter for homeless men. We receive substantial funding from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and the proposed bill would take away about 22% of the funds that organizations like St. Pat's rely on, taking away beds and shelters serving those experiencing homelessness nationwide and in our area. The charism of the sisters is love of neighbor with neighbor and neighbor with God, without distinction. Remember those last two words, without distinction. They're very important. This means that we are called to love and care for all, regardless of the color of our skin, the zip code we live in, the religion we practice or don't practice, our sexual orientation, just to name a few. As children, we were taught to do unto one another as we would have done unto us. So I have to ask, in our world today, are we doing this? And are we doing this without distinction? So who are the homeless? The HUD-sponsored single point in time count, which occurred in January 2023, told us that there's approximately 371 homeless men, women, and children in the Erie area. That number is up 73, roughly 20% from the 2022 count. Why are they homeless? Many are economically disadvantaged due to job loss, inability to find and maintain a job, mental illness, addiction, not being able to obtain affordable housing. So please don't kid yourself. Any one of us could be homeless at any time for the reasons that I have just listed. In my conversations with those experiencing homelessness in Erie, I have heard their stories of the inability to find nutritious, affordable food in the downtown area. I have heard their stories of the inability to access needed medical care. I have heard their stories of not being able to find affordable housing. United States will hit our debt ceiling in June, and in order not to default on our economy, Congress must raise it. Many in Congress are calling to take away or reduce Medicaid, housing, and food programs for our dear neighbor. What's that going to look like in Pennsylvania? Well, I'll tell you. It would take housing assistance away from 23,800 Pennsylvanians, and it would jeopardize 1,820 at-risk families of access to emergency housing vouchers. It would threaten medical care for roughly 272,000 Pennsylvania veterans. At St. Patrick's Haven, roughly a third of our census each night are veterans. It would put health coverage and access to care at risk for 1 million Pennsylvanians and jeopardize food assistance from the SNAP program for an additional 40,000 older adults. If we work together, I know that we can help those in need. We can do unto others without distinction. How do I know this? Well, I'll tell you. Last fall, St. Patrick's Haven experienced a fire, and thanks to the amazing response of the Erie Fire Department, the blaze was extinguished, but the fire, the water, and the smoke damage meant we had to close and we lost almost everything. That night of the fire, as I spoke with each of our guests, all who made it safely out of the building, my heart broke because at 2 a.m., I couldn't find enough shelter beds for everybody, and I watched them disappear into the night, knowing they did not have a safe, clean place to lay their heads. However, Erie is amazing. St. Patrick's Haven is part of the Home Team. This is a coalition of agencies who provide services to those in need. And during the pandemic, a group of us met every week so that we could keep our clients up to date on the latest COVID information. At the meeting after our fire, I asked Pat Stuck, the executive director from the Mental Health Association, and all of the other members if they could help. She called me back an hour later and said, St. Pat's has a home. You can come to the lower level of the MHA. So we banded with our county and our city government who paved the way to allow this change to occur. We banded with our community partners who helped us to replace what was lost. And 16 days after the fire, St. Patrick's Haven reopened our doors in the lower level of the MHA. We went from a homeless shelter becoming homeless to a homeless shelter finding a temporary home. And very soon we're looking forward to moving back into our home once again. You see, I saw firsthand what people can do when they truly band together, what people can do when they truly do unto others as they would have done unto themselves, what people can do when they practice love of neighbor with neighbor without distinction. So I'm asking all of you today to band together, because I know it can be done, and continue to support our most vulnerable. Please support any and all initiatives that continue to provide a pathway to care for those in need. You can do this by calling your representative or emailing your senator and the president. There are people here today who have information to show you how to do this. So send those emails and make that call. Because you know what? Nobody sets out to be homeless, but it can happen to anybody, and it can happen to you. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Betsy. And what a beautiful testament to what we can do when we come together. Up next, we are thrilled to hear from Jennie Hagerty, who serves as the Executive Director for Mercy Center for Women. Mercy Center for Women is a sponsored ministry of the Sisters of Mercy, and it provides safe and supportive transitional housing, education, and counseling services for homeless women with or without children. It is also a network of ongoing support, mentoring, and education, job training, and connection opportunities. Please join me in welcoming Jennie Hagerty.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity, and what an honor for all of us to come together to support what is right. And what is right is care, not cuts, right? Care, not cuts.
Care not cuts. Care not cuts. Care not cuts. Care not cuts.
It's important to note who's aware of Mr. Rogers. I'm sure all of us are aware of Mr. Rogers, right? Today is 143 Day, which was a day that Governor Wolf put into place to honor the great work and the kindness of Mr. Rogers. So how appropriate that we are all here today asking individuals to be kind and to understand and to be passionate about the journey that we can't even begin to understand. I have 4 words. Are any of the individuals on both lines of the party boots on the ground? I'm going to say no to that. We are out in this community every single day. All these wonderful people sitting here, all of you in the community, and we are fighting for homelessness. We are fighting for we are fighting for housing. We are fighting for veterans, which this will also affect. We cannot forget our military. Our military are who keep us alive in our country, who keep us safe. The Mercy Sisters, their sponsored ministry is charism, critical concerns of women and children. The women and children we serve at the Mercy Center for Women, I don't want them back out on the streets homeless. I want them to continue their journey, and I want them to be successful. Since 2017, we have not had a client return to the streets, and I don't want to see that moving forward because we can't agree. I don't want to know that 200,000 jobs will be lost if this debt ceiling is approved. Again, who are these individuals talking to? We all live a different life. I grew up on the west side. I was fortunate. I went to Our Lady of Peace School. I went to St. Benedict Academy. I'm a graduate of '83. Not everyone has those opportunities. It's not their choice that they do not. We do not pass judgment on people. We embrace them, we bring them close to us, and we ask them, how can we help you? What do you need from us to secure your future for tomorrow? And we need more people out in the community. We are the advocates. Every one of us is walking this journey to support the women, the children, the LGBTQ, the entire community. But if we don't have individuals who are experiencing homelessness, addiction, domestic violence, Erie County in the state of Pennsylvania right now is leading in suicide and drug overdose. We are a big state. That should not be happening. The women and children we serve. I have a mother here today in the audience. She has 5 beautiful children. She does not know when she graduates where she's going to go next. The reason we developed the Mercy Anchor Community Center is nobody should be punished because they've made a poor choice in their life and they can't have a landlord house them. That's why that community center is there, with the wraparound services that are necessary for a holistic approach to make clients strong and compassionate so they can turn around and give back. So again, keep affordable housing affordable. It's our job, it's our voice that's going to be out there changing, perhaps even if it's 1 or 2 people. Is it political? Absolutely, but it's more than political. It's our human right to serve those who cannot serve themselves. Mental health is a concern. Mental wellness, let's provide them with those opportunities to get them well. No one should ever have to choose between shelter and food. Thank you so much. Remember, care not cuts.
Care not cuts. Care not cuts. Care not cuts.
Thank you so much, Jennie, and thank you for bringing the stories of the women you work with each day to our rally. Up next, we will hear from Susannah Faulkner, who serves as the Director of Development for the SSJ Neighborhood Network and also on Erie City Council.
Hi everyone, I want you to take a second and turn to someone you don't know and introduce yourself. Say hi to one of your neighbors. Say hello to someone you haven't seen in a while. We can't do this without each other, and that's so much of the charism that the SSJs carry. We seek to meet the era and the area. So I wear 2 hats today, serving as Director of Development at the Sisters of St. Joseph Neighborhood Network. We serve over 10,000 City of Erie residents between 12th and 26th Street, Cranberry, and the Bayfront Connector, with over 13 programs from food assistance, housing support, and a whole myriad of other revitalization programs. I also wear the hat of being on City Council, so I see intimately how everyday decisions about government and budgets have a huge impact on everyday people like you and me. So who will be negatively impacted if Congress fails to raise the debt ceiling? Like I said, it's ordinary people like you and me. It's veterans, it's seniors, it's families, but most importantly to me, it's children. It's children who at no fault of their own are in this situation. A default would send shockwaves through the global economy and financial markets. We cannot let this become a reality. It would cut veterans' health care, education, Meals on Wheels, public safety, and take healthcare away from millions of Americans and send manufacturing jobs overseas. Outside economists say that failure to raise the debt ceiling will increase the likelihood of a recession. I know so many of us and leaders at our organizations are already feeling the pinches in the economy over the last few months and the last year. Erie has failed to recover from the recession over a decade ago. Who supports this? House Republicans are demanding these cuts while separately advancing proposals to add over $3 trillion to deficits through tax cuts and giveaways to the wealthy and big corporations. If you didn't believe it before, I ask you to please believe it now. Poverty is a policy choice. Say it with me. Poverty is a policy choice. Yes, yeah. We stand here today to urge all members of Congress, plus the president, to do the right thing in the final bill, to protect critical human services and programs in the federal budget. I want to talk a little bit about poverty in Erie. Erie has one of the poorest zip codes and one of the highest child poverty rates in the entire country. A child poverty rate is a key marker of what's called generational poverty to us economist nerds. And that means families who are trapped in poverty for generation after generation. The city of Erie's child poverty rate is 3 times higher than the state and national average. Nearly half of kids growing up in this city, 44% of them, are growing up in poverty, trapped in a situation depriving them of opportunity, good health, and stability. The situation needs to be called what it is. It is a crisis. Without raising the debt ceiling, our kids and families trapped in poverty will only have it harder. We are doing what we can every single day to serve these families, but we can't do it alone. And we have to ensure that our federal government has a truly moral budget that protects our most vulnerable. At SSJNN, we do a lot of work around food security. Every single week, we host a soup kitchen that we've been running for nearly 23 years at St. Paul's. We serve a warm dinner thanks to over 200 volunteers who help prepare that every single week, and with special holiday meals. We have emergency assistance for folks, a food pantry, when folks don't have access to other food pantry services. We also have community gardens. We have over 60 neighbors that are growing local produce, fresh local produce, right in their neighborhood, as well as our Little Italy Farmers Market. So we know food insecurity intimately, and we do see every day how 15 to 20% of kids in our city are insecure. They don't know where their next meal is coming from. That means 1 out of 5 children that you see walking around Erie doesn't know where their next meal is coming from. Without raising the debt ceiling, it would cut food assistance for women and children in Pennsylvania. This would mean that 54,000, that's half of the city of Erie, women, infants, and children would lose vital nutrition assistance through the WIC program, increasing child poverty and hunger. Are we gonna let that happen? No. It would jeopardize food assistance for seniors as well. In Pennsylvania alone, 40,000 older adults would lose access to SNAP because of new eligibility restrictions. We believe care, not cuts. That's why at the SSJ Neighborhood Network, we don't have any requirements to come to our soup kitchen every Monday. We don't care if you've been there every single week for 23 years. We don't care. We just want to serve you. We want to take care of you. We want to meet the era and the area. So I ask you today to please take action. Whether it's connecting with someone that you met here today, connecting with different community leaders, connecting with folks who need your help. We all have to do this together. Erie is in a dire situation, and without raising the debt ceiling, it will only get worse. We have to realize that what happens in Washington affects everyday people and the most vulnerable here in Erie. I ask you to please take the action that's been given out on the forums from the representatives from Network, from the Erie Advocates. To scan a QR code, you just need to open your phone, your little camera app, a link will pop up, and you can send a little email off. It's super easy. There's also numbers to call your senators. Don't hesitate to leave a message. It's the responsibility of those of us who are in office, whether it's city council or senate, to reply to every single one of those citizen concerns. So today, remember, poverty is a policy choice. We are going to protect our most vulnerable at all costs, and care, not cuts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Susannah. Up next, we will hear from Sister Dorothy Stoner, who serves at St. Benedict Education Center. St. Benedict Education Center provides training, skill development, and employment opportunities to people throughout Northwest Pennsylvania who are referred by the Public Assistance Office. Welcome, Sister Dorothy.
Hi, everyone. As you heard, I'm from St. Benedict Education Center. Empowering tomorrow's workforce. Sometimes people use the shorthand. We're a program that helps people move from welfare, public assistance, to work, to jobs. We have a very clear mandate from the government. Our focus is very narrow, but very specific in what we're to do. We work with parents, mostly single parents, mostly women, who are responsible for children 18 years of age or under. We help them to get work ready in various ways and to find employment, but not just find a job that they can keep, that they want to keep, that they can support their families with, and so they can keep that job. The significance, I think, of our program is that we work directly with people who are the targets of these budget cuts. These are people who are preparing for employment, the very thing the government says they want the poor to have, a job. And yet the very things they're cutting may put that in jeopardy. As I listen to the comments, the rhetoric, the harshness, the threats even, I think that we need to remember that who we're talking about are human beings. Those who are being targeted, those who are being dehumanized in conversation and accusations are real people. They're vulnerable, they have weaknesses, they have strengths and limits. Human beings who have made mistakes and can learn from them if given a chance. Human beings who have made some poor choices, but they need assistance, as we all do, to move on when we make mistakes, to begin anew. All of these budget cut talks are about the lives of people. All of this really is about our care for each other, isn't it? Do we care for each other as human beings? Do we care for the common good of all? That's what we're talking about. At St. Benedict's, we know from working with real people what gets in the way of them getting a job. For us, in our work at St. Ben's, we find that most of our clients can't come in for appointments or classes. Most of our people, when they have to turn down a job that they've been offered, or most of our people, if they lose a job or need to quit from a job, do it because of three main reasons. The first is problem with childcare. Now, I'm not going to repeat all the statistics with these because you've heard them. So keep in mind everything you've heard. Problem with childcare. It's not available for our people to get a job and to keep it. Or it's unstable. In Erie County, there are not enough daycare workers, so there are not enough daycare slots. Single parents then, our parents who want a job, have no place for their children to go, so they can't work. Problem with housing. Basic housing. Safe and healthy, stable housing. We all know, and we're learning more and more about the importance of stable housing for the well-being of a person, for the mental, the emotional, the physical health of a person, of our children. for their ability to succeed. But public housing lists are long, sometimes 2 years is required to wait to get into public housing. And then various circumstances may make it impossible for them to even accept the slot that's there. A third problem that we consistently run into are frequent illnesses. Children are sick, our participants are sick. Our families deal mainly with health care and their health issues in terms of crisis management. They can't think and plan in terms of a healthy lifestyle and prevention. Just think about how you think of health and health care. How concerned are you for eating well, for exercising, for doing all the things that will enable you to live longer, healthier? Our folks don't have the leisure to do that. They're just moving from crisis to crisis, taking their kids to this emergency room or that because of the nature of their situations. Our participants are dependent on Medicaid for their health care that they do receive. Even when our participants get a job, most of them need to stay on Medicaid because most jobs don't start with health insurance for them. And even when they do get a health insurance offer from their jobs, they usually can't afford to pay their part or maybe even the whole premium. And so they stay on Medicaid. They have no choice. What do we know about the budget cuts? A bill was passed, as you've heard, in the U.S. House of Representatives that would make severe cuts to Medicaid, to housing, to food, and education programs that serve the needs of the most vulnerable people. This impacts the very areas in which our participants at St. Benedict's need assistance to get a job. Now, isn't that ironic? The very thing they're insistent on for the poor to get jobs, the very things that are going to be jeopardized, the possibility of that because of the cuts they're making. We need you, as you've heard several times already, but I'll say it again. We need you to contact your representatives and email President Biden and members of Congress. You'll get information if you don't already have contact information. Tell them specifically how the budget cuts will affect people. You've heard specifics here. Talk in specific language. Give examples. Your actions can influence the outcome of these budget talks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Dorothy. Up next, we are thrilled to welcome Mayor Joe Schember. He was elected in 2017, and prior to becoming mayor, served for 6 years on City Council and also worked at PNC Bank for 40 years. Mayor Schember is here to talk about how federal funds have helped his initiatives to implement Erie's comprehensive plan. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you. Welcome to everybody here. I want to give a special welcome to Dr. Tyler Titus, who's here with us, if you haven't seen him yet. He got the most votes in last month's City Council meeting. I'm really proud of that. I look forward to working with him for the years ahead here. I'm going to be relatively brief relative to other speakers because they've given you so much great information. I don't want to cloud your mind with anything else. But one thing I want to talk about a little bit is homelessness here in Erie, kind of from my perspective, because we've been looking at that a lot here in the city. In an average year, there's over 1,000 people a year that are homeless here in Erie. Now, the vast majority of them are only on the streets for a couple weeks or maybe a couple months. However, we know right now we've got 150 people here in Erie that have been on the street for over 1 year, for greater than a year. And I'm really proud that there's a great group here in Erie. A lot of people are involved in this, but one of the mistakes we've been making with trying to deal with the homeless is we'll provide them with a place to live, but not until they get their life together and know what they're doing and aren't going to go off drinking or whatever. And we think that was a big mistake, basically, to do it that way. The first thing you should do is provide a home to people on the street, and that gives them an opportunity then to turn their lives around and learn. And I'm really proud to say that I think by the end of May, we should know we're going to create a home that will house up to 50 people in it. And we're looking for that 150 that have been on the street for over a year. And that's going to be very exciting when that happens. And it's probably going to be somewhere near downtown at least, because a lot of the homeless hang out in downtown. We want it to be a place they can stay. There'll be apartments that are very nice. And another thing that happened recently is Community Shelter Services, who you're probably all aware of. Diana Lizette runs that, as you probably know. They created a shelter for a family of 4 that was on the street. It's the first of many they're going to create. So I'm just trying to let you know there's other things going on besides these 50 that we're looking at trying to provide together. So it's very important that we take care of people, give them a chance to recoup, because I know people on the street have mental issues or emotional issues or things like that. But let's put them in a nice place to live and then work with them to correct those kind of problems. I'm very, very proud of that and very happy with what all of you are doing here today, especially the 4 people that spoke before me, all of you here to participate in this. This is a wonderful thing. Let's move Erie forward. Care, not cuts.
Care not cuts. Care not cuts. Care not cuts.
What else?
Thank you so much, Mayor. And finally, we are thrilled to welcome Gary Horton to the stage. He serves as president of the NAACP and Urban Erie CDC, where he manages the Urban Erie Community Development Corps and wears many other hats. Gary has his hand on the pulse of Erie and is here to share more about what he sees every single day in the community here. Welcome.
Thank you. All a tough act to follow, but these are tough times that we're in. And when I look out here at the audiences gathered here today and on stage, it doesn't represent the full scope of the damage and the harm that's about to be done to us. Our fight is not just today. It's not just trying to get Congress and the administration to do the right thing. Our democracy, our very democracy, is on the line. This attempt to destroy the American economy over a made-up issue is nothing more than another attempt to undermine our democracy. We've got to stay focused on that. The mayor made reference to the election success of one of the candidates in the election a couple days ago. But that election didn't nearly represent the show up and the show out that's needed to counter the forces that are trying to destroy our democracy. We cannot beat them with a token representation of people who vote on election day. We've got to vote like our life depends on it. We've got to vote like every day, every election counts. That's the thing that these people will respect. They don't respect our signs. They don't respect our voice. One after another trick they try. I'm coming to represent a people who have been disproportionately impacted by American policies for the last 400 years. It's hard for those people to muster up enough confidence and support to stand for our democracy when the history and their experience has been to get the short end of the stick. If anyone thinks that Black Americans don't recognize what's at stake in this budget impasse, this budget fight, it's going to impact us more disproportionately than anyone, more than the seniors, more than the children. We have them both. In my neighborhood, 50% of the population are children under the age of 18. They need investment, not disinvestment. They need hope, not fear. They need America to do what it has told all of us young people who have gone into debt and go to college. Pay your debt. Pay your debt, America. Congress, pay your debt. These are bills that have already been incurred. It's a fake issue. Let's call it what it is. We've got to vote, and we've got to vote like our very life depends on it. Because in so many people's case, it does. Hunger, we haven't seen it yet. We'll see it. We'll not only see it, we'll experience it. Not just in our family and amongst our friends, some of us are going to feel it. These are devastating cuts. Already there's a disproportionate number of kids of color who go to college. The gap is wide. It's going to make it wider. Everybody who got up here talked about poverty. We know that that's an element that we're not proud of in this city, the degree of poverty. It's not flat. It doesn't go down. It only increases, Mayor. What will happen if they make a deal that guts the things that we have fought for long and hard? We cannot relinquish them. Elspeth, we got to fight for them. Where are our children and grandchildren? Where are your friends of color? It cannot just be left on people of color to convince people of color to come out and vote. The Democrats can't win without our support. Ask the president. If he makes the wrong decision, he may as well forget 2024. Because African American women will not be fooled when their parents and their children go hungry after they fought to save our democracy. The battle we face is not just today. Yes, call our congressman. We have one down there who has plenty of years' experience not listening to us. Yes? If he listened to us, we wouldn't be here today. We already know calling him is an effort in futility. We've got to take our message to the streets. We should be mobilizing all summer. We've got to make the party who makes that decision to make us suffer in the space we're in today pay the cost for doing that. We can't give them a free pass. They think they have a free pass with January 6th. The whole world is watching, folks. It's care, not cuts. It's hunger hurts. SNAP matters. Hands off SNAP. Do the right thing. Pass a moral budget. But we can't get those things by being silent or being a good guy or talking nice. We've got to do like John Lewis. We got to make some good trouble. If you believe in our democracy, the thing that has made this country great around the world, we cannot let the minority few rule. It's a minority few that's taking us hostage. It's a minority few that's acting as terrorists. It's a minority few trying to rob us of what we fought for and what we hoped for. We cannot quit. We cannot be tired. We cannot give up. We've got to go back and get everyone. I'm reminded as a Christian, the story when Jesus' family left him and they were headed back to where they came from.
and they discovered that Jesus wasn't with them. Then what did they do? Did they keep going? Did they complain? No. They went back and got him. They found him in the marketplace, preaching the truth. Care not cuts. Hunger hurts. Hands off the snap. Do the right thing. Pass a moral budget. That's where we're at today. Same God then, same God today. That's our answer to the enemy. Vote like your very life depends on it. God bless you. Keep hope alive.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you to all of our speakers for coming out to share what your organizations, what your communities do, and to call on Congress to protect SNAP, to protect Medicaid, to protect WIC, and to recognize that the federal budget is a moral document. And so today, as we leave, we've been passing out a little half sheet of paper, and we will continue to pass them out as we're ending. On this, there's a QR code that you can scan on your phone. It'll go directly to our website where you can email your representatives and your senator and President Biden. It also has a script where you can call your representatives and demand that they support a Clean Debt Ceiling Act, that they protect the services that our communities need to thrive. And as people of faith, we know that what really matters, in addition to all the calls, all the emails, all the sharing of messages, is to continue to pray for the people in our communities and for the people who these cuts will affect and the people that serve alongside them each and every day. I want to thank all of you for coming out today. As we end, we would like to do one giant